First month in December, I think we did like 15,000 in revenue. We bought 2,000, we sent in 200 to Amazon, and I think it was sold out in like 2 or 3 weeks. Every year we've grown by at least 35%. Honestly, the hardest part was just making the commitment at the very beginning. We are so much more capable of accomplishing anything than you could think if you just like set your mind to it and do it.
Well, just to start us off here, I'd love to get to know a little bit about your background. Could you tell me a little bit about your life, where you were before you started this journey launching your product?
Sure. So going back to 2020, very beginning, right before the pandemic, it was January. I was sent a product, which was a foot peel. I'm not sure if you're familiar. It's basically a plastic sock that has a formula inside. You put it on for about an hour, and after an hour, you rinse it off, and then about 5 days later, your foot just feels like a snake. Wow. It's like this really crazy treatment for people with like dry or calloused feet. So I was sent this product in January 2020, right before the pandemic. At the time, I was working in music. I was a music producer, audio engineer, songwriter. Like I had a song in the FIFA 2023 video game, for instance. So I just made beats, made records, and that was my thing. And so the pandemic hit, and I was like out of a job basically, as was a lot of people, but especially in music, like nobody had work really. So then, a couple months went by. It was like March, April. I was like, you know what, like I need to figure something out because I have no work. And I was mulling around the idea of like launching a product on Amazon. I kept seeing advertisements on YouTube, Instagram of like, e-com guru type people, you know how it is. And so I was like, you know what, I don't have anything to lose. I'm just going to I'm going to do it. So I read this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I was just like, okay, I'm doing this. And so I just set my mind to it. And so I was like March or April, I made the decision. And then by November, we had launched our first SKU. So 6 months, and I did an online course of some guy. It was like $1, and like I just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this. And so then the rest was history. That was so our first launch actually was actually on Black or Cyber Monday of November in 2020.
Yeah, so it sounds like you got moving pretty quickly on that product. It's very interesting here. It seems like for a lot of people that I talk to, it's the pandemic was such a catalyst to get people started on their journeys like this. It seems like that you were no exception.
100%.
You got really up and running it. I know you started touching it briefly, but it sounds like you choosing what product you wanted to pursue. It sounds like this was kind of something personal to you, something you had personally experienced as a problem. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. So I was unaware of like what a foot peel was. Like, I was 27, 28 whenever I started the company, and I had never heard of this product, never knew it existed. And my entire life, I've suffered from like chronic dry feet. Like my heels have always felt like sandpaper, like it's horrible. Like since I was a child. So then when I tried the product, I was like, wow, like this is crazy. Like it actually solved the problem, like a problem that I had. And I've tried, lotion on my feet, and it's just like none of it really worked. And it wasn't stuff I really wanted to do. And like I was never interested in getting a pedicure like so many other men. It's just like, it's just not our zone. Like it doesn't feel like a good, it's just not like a place I wanted to be at. But so it was like sort of out of necessity that I launched it, because whenever to get back to your question specifically, after I tried the product and it worked, I went back to order another product on Amazon a few months later, because again, I was sent the product. So I wasn't the one who purchased the product that I first tried. So when I went back onto Amazon months later to you know what, I'm going to try another foot peel. None of the products like spoke to me. They were like, it was all like for women. It was all like, women with like Asian women's legs with like pink and white boxes, and like it looked very like medical almost, and I was like, none of these speak to me. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna there's a hole here in the market. I'm gonna make a product for men. And it's just, it's not like anything I did was that unique to what people are doing. It's just I just saw a hole in the market and was like, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's very cool to see that you saw that yourself and realized that there was just a hole to fill and jumped in there. It sounds like you discovering this in March and then having a product launched in November. It sounds like as soon as you saw this, you must have started moving pretty quickly to fit in that. Talk a little bit, next stages. So you got some of the branding down. You want to take this and target it towards men. Obviously, there's a period of connecting with a manufacturer. What were those next steps you took to get that idea off the ground?
Yeah, so after I was like, you know what, there's a hole here in the market, there's an underserved audience, I committed to doing like a Amazon FBA course. It's the truth, and I'm sure you know this as well, like most of the information in these courses is very similar. No one's selling like really that much more of an edge, but if you just like are committed to learning the information, anybody can do it, So I just like dove into a course, and I learned the process of how to like sample a product, going or contacting a number of suppliers, getting the unique modifications you want, evaluating them, and just going through that whole process. So that I kind of went through a course as I was launching the business. So I was like, as the course was going through how to source a product, I was emailing people on Alibaba, just like going through and getting samples made while the course was going.
Totally. And that's that process of getting samples made. Was it pretty easy for you to find a manufacturer to work with, or was that a little bit more challenging?
It wasn't the most challenging thing, but it was, I think because my expectations were in line with how it would look, I like wasn't caught off guard by anything. So I was sort of like, I'm going to contact 7 or 8 factories. Most of them are probably gonna be garbage, or it's gonna be difficult to work with the supplier, the agent, and then eventually one would pan out, which is sort of what happened.
Right. So obviously manufacturing one side of it. The second side of it is your product. Obviously a big angle of it is that you're taking something and making it more available and more targeted towards a male demographic. A lot of that's branding. Did you work on a lot of the branding yourself? Did you outsource a lot of that work, or how'd you develop that style?
That's a good question. So I had a vision for what I wanted the branding to feel like. I'm not a graphic designer myself, though. I have listen, when I'm drawing, it's like stick figures. So I have no artistic skill myself. But my partner is a great graphic designer, and also we really used designers like on Upwork to really collaborate with them. Sure. So my partner would mock up designs, and then we would send it to the designer on Upwork, and it was sort of this collaborative process. We had our branding design is very, very simple right now, but it was 14 iterations of referencing this, referencing that, and it's just to make it seem really simple, So yeah, just a back and forth collaboration with designers, really.
Very nice. Yeah. And you're able to create something that really spoke to your target audience. When going through, did you try to get feedback at all this product along the way? Was there
by who? Who specifically are you?
Just be friends or online. I mean, a lot of what we hear people doing is doing pre-launch, getting people involved early on, or is this kind of still kind of a side thing at a time for you?
Actually, to be honest with you, I tried to tell as few people as possible, because I've noticed in life, and I've learned from other people, when you have a big vision or a big dream, I didn't want anyone to stifle it or to be a negative voice in my head, because a lot of times when you're trying to build something, you're gonna hear a lot of people tell you reasons why it doesn't work or why it won't work. Because when we launched, to put it in perspective, when we launched in the foot peel category, there was 405 competing SKUs.
Wow.
In a market that on Amazon was a $56 million a year market. Yeah. So conventionally on paper, most people would say, "Oh, what do you think you're doing?" Sure. Amazon's been running for 7 years and there's 400 products. What makes you think you can make it? And so I didn't want to hear any of that bullshit. I was just I really just want, I know what I can do and I know what I'm capable of doing and I'm committed to making it work. So I just didn't share it with hardly anyone, actually.
No, that makes sense. I can definitely see the angle you were coming at that with. You just want the validation to speak for itself, and not from the words of others there. So working with manufacturers, getting everything together, eventually you're going to come to the time where, you're going to have to put some money down to get the product manufactured and started. Was that your first big cost?
Yeah, that was the majority of our startup was that first production run. We did 2,000. I know that I know that you guys reached out regarding the gel socks, and I'm sort of leading with this interview with the foot peels. Sure. So if at any point in time you want to hear,
this is the story. So I want to hear how it all came together.
So the foot peels, it was the startup cost I think was 40 for the first inventory purchase was about 4,500 or something about that, 4,300. And that was the bulk of the startup. Me and my brother, his wife, and then my partner are the 3 owners. I own 51%, and then they own the rest. And the majority of the money was going towards the inventory. So it was sort of you know what, we're going to pay for it, and it's either going to work or it's not. And
so you were pretty ready to make that jump when it came around, or was it a little bit of thought that that's when it's getting serious, right?
I was ready, man. I think honestly the hardest part was just making the commitment at the very beginning, because once I made commitment, I was like, you know what, if we blow $6,000 and it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But sure. I have nothing to lose at this point. It's just a few $1,000,
Totally. Yeah. So you did that manufacturing stage, put the money down. the products come in. I'm assuming everything goes smoothly with that.
Ooh, no, 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 actually, in fact, this is a really defining moment for us. When we first got the 2,000 units shipped in, okay, we were only allowed an allocation of 200 units at Amazon. So we shipped 200 units to Amazon and we got 1,800 shipped to our house. When we first got the shipment in, we opened up, so we made all these modifications to our foot peels, like unscented, certain sizing, no parabens or fragrance. Like we did make some modifications with the formula, but a lot of it really was relying on the branding, that we would connect with our audience, so they would make an emotional connection with the purchase. And with the first order, when you open up the box, there's two like packaged envelopes that contain the actual foot peels in them.
Right.
And both and the bags, which is what they're, these bags, both had these stock Chinese default sample writing all over it. Like it was in Chinese.
Wow.
Like if you ordered samples from the factory, like that, the bag was just like this. And so, and then it was, and there's like misspellings on it. It just looked horrible. And like, and my partner, he was like very like disturbed by this, like really like distraught. And I was just like, you know what? We're going to be able to do more production runs. Like this isn't, we're not just, it's either going to work or it's not. And it's not going to be dependent upon like that one thing that we can change in 3 months when we do a reorder. But when you first ordered all those units and you realize there's this huge mistake, like you're kind of like, your heart kind of sinks, like, oh, of course, crap. Like, did we just blow it? Like, is this, fortunately it didn't, but
yeah. So upon seeing that huge mistake, I mean, did you just decide to move forward as is, try to make changes to the product, or?
So we immediately contacted the factory, and it was, it really, the fault was on me. I should have double checked on the bag. Like there was a misunderstanding with the agent, but really it fell on me to have double checked that part of it. It was a mistake we quickly fixed, and we got like our branding and all of our packaging fixed.
Right.
But yeah, it was definitely like, a clincher where you're just like,
I can imagine.
Yeah. but it worked out. It worked out.
Cool. So I mean, for that first run, did you send those to Amazon or did you scrap those?
No, we did send them to Amazon because there wasn't anything wrong with the integrity of the product. It was just like a it's just a typo on the inside of the bags. So we sold them, and the reviews were great. Like that first batch, everyone had no complaints with that. No one even mentioned that in the reviews. So it's one of the things where like something that that we were very particular about that the customer didn't even really care about. So.
Yeah. I feel like that tends to be a lot of cases. Oftentimes when you launch your product, you tend to be your hardest critic, which can be a good thing. I mean, it helps you create a great product that's really outstanding. But yeah, a lot of these small things, you realize that, I mean, especially you saw with the reviews, that no one really cared when it came down to it.
Yeah.
To take us back a little bit there, so you're talking about the launch. For that launch on Amazon, did you take any preparation steps other than setting the product and obviously building the listing? Anything to really ensure that was successful?
Yeah, a lot of it was around building the listing, being really intentional about the keywords, making sure that our bullet points really included the keywords that we wanted to rank for. Like that is, it's so important to get those keywords in there, and like the backlink keywords or whatever. I forget how they phrase it now. I feel like they kind of changed the way that the keywords work over the. Like it's different than when I first got in, but really getting those keywords using like software like Helium 10. Like I cannot emphasize how important that software is. Like Helium 10 was just like so crucial for doing like figuring out what the keywords were, like all of the keywords, and being able to run PPC campaigns and like really running hot PPC campaigns on launch. Like really just like spending whatever you need to make sure that campaign runs all day.
100%. Yeah, I know people, like a lot of people like will try to like save costs by not doing Helium 10, but I feel like it's an investment that's really worth it. And a lot of people even just use it for product research, but I say if you keep with it, I mean, it sounds like for you, being able to build your listing out with the right SEO terms and then running PPC, even if you aren't using their PPC tool, I mean, even just getting the keywords from there.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. Like I don't even use Helium 10's PPC tools. I just use it to know which words. Because exactly.
Yeah, of course. So that sounds like the investment paid off. Launched on Amazon, success from the beginning. That first month launched on there. How exactly did that go?
It was insane. It was such a euphoric feeling, like, and I think a lot of buyers who are like can relate to this. Like that first month of sales when you have a winning product, it is just like so euphoric. You know, you may like, I remember the first week was like 7 or 8 a day and being like, wow,
Nice.
like people are doing it. Like people are buying just off of like a few a day.
Yeah.
But then like our first month in December, I think we did like 15,000 in revenue, which was Christmas. So it's like, you know, it's a high sales month, but just like having that first month, which was like a big win, it was just like so much wind in our sales after that first month.
Totally. And so relative to how much product did you buy of that to start with from the manufacturer?
Yeah, so we bought 2,000, we sent in 200 to Amazon, and I think it was sold out in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
So like we
the 200 you sent in was.
yeah, like it was like sold out very quickly. And fortunately we sent them from the factory at the same time. So by the time that they got to our house, they were already also showing up at Amazon. So we were quickly able to ship. But yeah, but it was really exciting time that first month.
I can imagine. So, I mean, very good to hear. First month goes great. Again, that's right by Christmas. So a lot of people do have the fall off. Did you guys experience that at all, like after the holiday season, or did it continue to go good from there?
You know, so we've found this out now, but December and January, actually, January is a huge month for us.
Yeah.
For, you know, just that carryover from holiday sales. So then we saw like from February to March is like a little bit lower, but maybe like 20%, 10%. It's not a huge, it's not that seasonal like our sales. So there's a little bit of a drop, but it wasn't much.
Yeah. And then continuing through that, I mean, as sales continue that good, do you guys start to talk to your manufacturer about restocking up as you start to go through those units?
Yeah, that was like, I mean, very, very quickly after, like in January, we're like, wow, we already have to we have to start ordering now, which is, just kept going.
Totally. And we talked about some of those great things that happened the first few months. Were there any like learned lessons, any mistakes along those way in those first months on there?
There was a lot. We definitely were putting too much money into social media marketing without a real go-to-market strategy, which we learn now. Like there's much better ways to allocate marketing budgets than just like, you know, paying for Facebook campaigns without really knowing what's going on. So focusing more on expanding our product line and building our presence on Amazon first, and then building our social media strategy later.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, taking the priorities and putting your energy in the right place is obviously very important. And so it sounds like a lot of things going right with this product, stocking up, doing well. And I know you mentioned it earlier, but this product eventually became a segue into a second product of yours. You talk a little bit how that led to one another. I mean, I hear it all the time where, I mean, launching a product on Amazon, you can learn all that you want about Amazon, but actually getting there and launching stuff, it gives you so much experience that,
oh my God,
it's incomparable to anything you can learn by just, you know, watching or something.
100%. That was 100%. Like, so whenever we were doing the keyword research around the foot peels, I stumbled upon another keyword that was popping up, which is gel socks for men, moisturizing socks for men. Extra large moisturizing silicone socks for men. So I realized, okay, like our audience is also looking for moisturizing gel socks. Had no idea what that was. Had no idea. But through digging through and looking at the competitors, I quickly saw a lot of issues within their products that we could compete on. Some being price, some being quality of product. So then after I learned how to do the foot peels, we were like, you know what? There's another product that works great with our foot peels. Let's launch our own moisturizing socks that are like the best source socks that we can find. And then so like that's what we did. And so we launched that in July. And then we're launching a heel cream next month to go alongside those other products. So now we're actually growing from Phoenix Foot Peel to Phoenix Skincare. So it's just, you know, launching products next to
so you were able to kind of keep that all within the same brand and then do some brand expansion like on a product.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're trying to or what we're planning to do this next year is expand to like just skincare products. So like facial skincare products, a number of different skincare products, not just feet related.
Have you, through launching all these products and obviously building out the brand and growing it bigger, I mean, I can see what some of these products are doing and seem to be doing well. Have you gotten to the point where you're able to do this like completely full time?
Yeah. Fortunately, last spring, which was our 3rd year in business, I went full time, which was like the most freeing thing ever. So it's been awesome.
Do you have like a total number of what you've earned through Amazon so far?
In gross, I think it's about 750,000 or so, something like that. So it's we've had every year we've grown by at least 35%.
Wow.
So it's yeah, just like snowballs. And we've launched in Australia, or we sell in Australia, the UK, and Canada, which now those three combined make up for about 15 to 20% of our total gross revenue.
What's the Amazon marketplaces of those countries?
Yeah. That's
because I know there's a lot of people obviously looking to expand, and it's cool to hear you've actually done that. How'd that decision go, and has that like paid off for you guys?
Oh man, that's paid off so well. And I think the thing that I learned through that was like each of the other marketplaces are a lot newer in those other regions. Like in the United States, Amazon's everywhere. Everyone is like on Amazon Prime, and there's still like we're still not at peak saturation in the US. Like we're still a couple years before we're like fully saturated.
Yeah.
So you have to think like in Australia, the UK, Canada, like Amazon, it moved into those places later. You know, so like fulfillment centers and their distribution is like it's good, but it's like they're getting better. So if you can, like for instance, the Canada and the UK and even Australia, actually all three of them, we had a really slow like we didn't do an aggressive strategy to build those markets. We were like, let's send the products in, let's run some small PPC campaigns and just see if people bite. And most of them took about 6 months at least before they started really growing. Like some months it would be like, you know, a few $100s in sales. And now the UK is doing like $3,000 or $4,000 a month.
Wow.
And we're not really focusing on it. We're just sending products. So
So you think the way the market's different? Obviously, it's those Amazon's a much smaller player in some of these countries that you mentioned. You think there's less competition, or is it still like kind of there's less of a customer pool, so it kind of balances out in that way?
I think it's probably a little bit of both because like there is less competing SKUs, and a lot of the brands you see in the US are not in those other countries. But also like there is less demand, I think, in those countries as well. So, but I think the thing is like they're all growing, like all of
a lot of growth,
so much room for growth, so much. So definitely a decision I'm very glad that we made to expand those categories.
This is cool to hear. So overall, I know I talked in individual about some different areas of the launch, but are there any like big things you would say are like the biggest mistakes along the way or biggest learned lessons throughout the whole launch product of building your brand and expansion and all?
Man, I would say the biggest lesson learned is not necessarily so much a mistake, but like a lesson. It may sound like a cliche or a platitude, but like we are so much more capable of accomplishing anything than you could think if you just like set your mind to it and do it. Like like I never would have thought I'd be an e-commerce brand owner selling stuff online. Like I never thought I'd do that. I never imagined it. And like, but I'm doing it. And like people can do it if you just like set your mind to it. So like, I think like we're sort of limitless is what I've learned. It's like, you can do anything you set your mind to.
Well, that's some great advice for people starting out. I feel like, I mean, a lot of people think they have to have some background going into it, but it sounds like,
no,
I mean,
not at all.
what you're doing and you're able to just learn online, learn from doing, and really grow it into
and I mean, like stuff like Travis makes is incredible. Like there's actually to sort of like full circle here. There's someone that Travis interviewed once, Dr. Mark Young, his marketing. He does marketing for like CPG. And I stumbled across one of the interviews he did with Mark and actually reached out to Mark, and it was incredible. And so like down the road, when we want to push brick and mortar, we're probably going to reach out to Mark to pay him for marketing. And like we've had meetings with him. We're not there yet with our business. Like we're not quite at the level yet. Just cash flow wise, but like the content that Travis makes is so like rich with information. So like that stuff is just.
I'm glad to hear it from you. It's videos like that, like the ones with Mark, and there's a couple other ones that we hear feedback from sellers like you that are like this really inspired. It's good to hear because. Performance wise, like, you know, there's other videos we make that do like so much bigger numbers, but then we hear things like this that's like, oh, that was the most impactful content. So
man, so good. The Mark Young interviews are just like incredible because it's like the thing I've realized is like there's no like e-commerce is so new and the way it moves is so fast. Like there's not a college course you can take that's like, oh, here's all the ins and outs of how it moves. And like so it's like people like Travis that have been in the arena that bring content to people that share the information that's like so valuable. And it's priceless stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad to hear it from you. I'm glad it's able to impact and help out there. I mean, that's the whole goal when it comes down to it. Well, you kind of spoke on it a little bit briefly about what's coming up, but I'd love to just ask that question. What's next for your brand? I mean, you've been successful with it, gotten to go full time. What's next? Do you want to keep just building the brand?
Yeah, we're looking to build out Phoenix Skincare. So we have the trademark is going to be pending very soon. So file in the next month.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, we're just growing our skincare line, doing like more foot related care products, more skincare products, face related. So yeah, our goal and our ethos at Phoenix Skincare is just as long as we can compete on price and compete on quality, like we're winning. So as long as we can compete on quality and price, like we're going to keep adding more products.
It's great to hear. I love to hear it. Is this something you see full time, or is this building towards a sale or something eventually down the line?
Until I'm not enjoying it, I'll probably just keep doing it. Like I really enjoy it. A little bit about me, like I grew up playing World of War. There's a weird tangent, but I grew up playing World of Warcraft, and I loved the auction house and running, selling products. Like so, to me, like selling products on Amazon just feels like a video game, and like the money is nice and like having a living is nice, but I enjoy finding products that connect with customers that they like. It's just I love it.
That's cool to hear how it came full circle like that. From those inspirations. I mean, that's what it's all about. Like we say as a career, is like just finding your passion. It seems like you take a problem you experience, turn it into a product, took what you I guess originally had loved doing and turned it into a career. So that's cool to hear how you're able to do it. Excited for your success going forward.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. And like yeah, this year's gonna be exciting. You know, like this is we're expanding. We're doing a foot cream. We're gonna be launching like a foot transformation kit, which is like all of our products in a bundle.
Oh, wow.
And like, you know, with like a couple other accessories. Yeah. And then like this year is gonna be the first year that I'm going to the Canton Fair in China. So hopefully gonna be connecting with other suppliers and expanding to other categories, maybe launching more brands. So yeah, I like the product development process and I enjoy selling on Amazon. It's awesome.
Nice, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you sitting down and talking to me today. This was very educational, very cool to hear what you've done with your product.
Hey, Connor, thank you so much for the time and reaching out. And
yeah, you too. I appreciate it. Take care.
Awesome. Bye, Connor.